So I started working at a warehouse. I would say maybe around like 10 to 11 years ago. It's kind of hard to pinpoint. The only reason is because I started off in a staffing agency. And in a staffing agency, it's basically like you walk in, say you're looking for work, they get your information down, and they just send you to a place. At least that was my experience. I went in. My brother, that's the way he had gone into the warehouse that I eventually started working at first. He told me just basically here, just go in, take your ID, you should be good to go. And I don't remember if I had to take my social. I'm sure I had to take my social security and just like basic stuff like that. But as far as like have to have any experience or need any certifications or anything like that, like nah. So I went in. I remember I just went in, gave my ID, you know, anything else I needed, and they just told me here, show up to this one, show up to this warehouse, at this time, and I don't want to get too like, yeah, ZZ Reports is about getting detailed into time, but at the same time, like, I'll get into detail when it's on that certain subject. Right now, this is just, basically on warehousing, a longer introduction into the video that I had just put up, or the audio, I'm sorry. And this audio just basically, like I said, more about how it all started off in the warehousing aspect. So they sent me over, and at this point, it was me and my little brother. So we both go and we start working at this warehouse. And obviously, in a staffing agency, like I said, it was basically go give your ID and any social security that you need to put up. But same thing, like they didn't offer no drug test or anything like that. It would just basically go in. Here's the directions, and there will be someone there to talk to you. And sure enough, that's what we did. And basically, they didn't tell us exactly what we were gonna be doing. They just told us like, you're gonna go to a seasonal warehouse, you know, and you'll figure it out from there, you know. So we got there, and I remember I just got in there, and the first thing you see are the racks, you know. Wasn't that my first experience inside a warehouse like that? Like, I would say so. I can't remember any other experiences that I had to go inside like a warehouse like that. But you're in there, you see the racks, then you start seeing the machinery, the pallet jacks, the sit down forklift, the dock stalkers, the reach trucks, and any I would say basic machinery like that, because at the end of the day, those are some basic machinery that all warehouses have. I don't remember seeing a cherry pick. That's what I'm trying to think right now, if I ever remember seeing one, but I don't. So this was a seasonal warehouse, and what I mean by seasonal is basically, it would be selling or pushing out any merchandise that had to do with holiday stuff. Anything from starting off the year from New Year's to Valentine's Day, Easter, 4th of July, Then it would have a lot of stuff for like summer, you know, for things like that. Then harvest, Thanksgiving, um, Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. Like those are just when it came to that type of seasonal. And what I mean by that, because in a grocery warehouse, it's gonna be totally different. Just in a seasonal warehouse, you got like Super Bowls, you got just anything that you can add to a barbecue in the whole aspect of it. So, like Veterans Day, a lot of people like grilling and stuff like that, and stuff like that. Like that's just one way I guess I can see it, because this was more of a warehouse that would be more like decoration type of stuff. So it would have a lot of decorations when it came to like putting at the home, putting in your home, or putting in the what I say in the front lawn, like I guess, but like I've also worked at a Home Depot where they have the skeletons and stuff like that. And this where I was at, it was more like, I don't know, I guess you could say decorating inside the home, somewhat outside the home as well, but the items weren't as sturdy, I guess you could say. And so that's the way I would look at it as far as the candy as well. They focused a lot on candy when it came to like Valentine's Day. When it came to Easter, like they would focus on a lot of Peeps, like the little sugary sugar candies and all that stuff. And that was somewhat more what it was focused on. So just it would have its sections where it had its canned food and it had its general items, but for the most part, that's what that warehouse would focus on. My brother and me, we started off in two different departments, and even though we kind of both did the same functions, even though we both did do the same functions, I guess I started off being in one function more time than him. So what I mean by that is we both started picking, and obviously it was just order selecting. We were picking with a Vocalette. You had a lot of people called it the potato. It was just a blue Vocalette, and it would connect to the headset. And the thing about our warehouse was that it didn't have any of the foam stuff. It didn't have any of the stuff that you put in your ear. So a lot of people were using their napkins. A lot of people were using like just, I don't know, stuff so it wouldn't hurt their ear. And I don't know, I really wouldn't do that. I'd just put it on and find an angle, or try to come in every morning early to find one, and then eventually just keep one in my pocket. That way I've always had one. And that's the way you kind of work. I learned to work my way around that, because like I'm not gonna be fucking over here always looking for one, because let me tell you, picking for 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours with no phone piece on your ear, that shit hurts, but you gotta do it. And that's what I mean. A lot of people were putting, I don't know, like a piece of cloth or a napkin, that way it wouldn't hurt their ear. So after we got first, actually, not picking, after when we first finished picking, but we went in, and this is what I mean by my other video. I kind of lose track, kind of where I'm talking, because I'm trying to do this mostly off the top of my head. But as far as when it came to the whole process of just the whole training process, we went in there, And it was very basic. They showed us how to use a pallet jack. They showed us just basically how to operate it, um, the proper um, the proper way to be picking. And this is something else. Like, I'm gonna get into a whole bunch of other videos just detailing these processes. As far as when it came to the picking process. I know I told you guys that I have other channels or other profiles that have other videos, other audios, and that's what basically those other channels or profiles that they do. Like, they're just audios of me explaining what the picking process is. So this is all stuff that I want to explain. That way, everybody just has a better understanding of everything that I'm trying to talk about. But so we trained on how to pick and how to use the machinery of pallet jack. And then I'm not gonna lie, like when I first started, like I wasn't picking all that good. Like, I was picking okay, but I just wasn't picking all that good. And then so they sent me to take care of the backhaul. Not to take care, I'm sorry. They sent me to go work in the backhaul. And in backhaul, that's basically where the trash is at. So you have a group of people that are unloading trailers that have trash in them, or pallets, crates, plastic, and that's red Petco, blue Chip, and just white wooden pallets. Sometimes black plastic pallets as well, depending on the warehouse. But I mean, sometimes depending on the warehouse as well, there's like refrigerated stuff that you put ice cream in. But for the most part, right now we'll focus on what I was doing there, and it had a lot of like trash, crates for bread, crates for vegetables or fruits, and basically you'd unload it, or baled cardboard as well, bales of cardboard that basically they would be recycling over there at the store, and they put it in a baler, bale it, tie it up, and then just go ahead and send it to this warehouse that I was working at. I mean, there's a lot of places that have balers, so I'm sure that people know what that is. But so you just unload it. So the person unloading it would just unload all this stuff, and then the way it was coming out, obviously, goes separated by its section. So if it was just a bunch of pallets, go put it next to the pallets. If it was plastic, put it over there next to the plastic. If it was crates and cardboard, you get what I'm saying. Just separating everything to its area. And so basically, like, a rundown would be, in the crate section, you'd be separating the crates and stacking the crates together into pallets, and then wrapping them up, and then just putting it by the tie high. So if 15 by 5, if 15 crates fit on each layer 5 high, you just stack it up that high, and that's the tie high, and then you just go ahead and wrap it up, and somebody will take it. And basically what ends up happening with that is a company will come, grab those crates, and just reuse them, just for other stuff, for other vegetables, other bread loads that they have, and stuff like that. So that's basically why they're being separated. You wrap them in the balers. You're just basically recycling cardboard. You're putting cardboard in a baler, then baling it, tying it up. In the plastic, you're separating plastic, and it pretty much works the same way as the baler. You're just putting plastic in a baler, and you're baling it down, you're squishing it down, and you just tie it up, and that's what you're gonna end up loading in one of the containers to send back to China. Same thing with the cardboard. Then you have the trash. You're just emptying out crates, Gaylord pallets, anything like that. And then you're just basically taking out the trash. And the worst thing out of all of that was the watermelons. Rotting watermelons were the fucking worst. That shit was fucking disgusting. But basically, that was the backhaul area. You know, that was the backhaul area, and that's what I was doing for a while until they basically were like, I think this fool gets the hint. He's either gonna fucking shaping up and start picking good, or he's gonna end up fucking being right here for a while in the fucking garbage in the backhaul. So I ended up going back to pick. Everything was cool. And, what do you call it? Me and my brother ended up working there for a cool while. And that's where we learned how to pick. And for the most part, that we were just order selecting right there and unloading containers. So that's where you learn, how to read item numbers, SKUs, however different people call it. Like I said, all of that, we can go over all of that in another video, but that's where I basically started learning how to unload containers by hand, learning how to read the tie high, and basically building pallets, So if it would read 5 by 5, you put 5 a layer, 5 high, 25, and then you're just building it. You're unloading all those boxes with that same item number, and comparing it to the BOL, and just making sure that all the correct number of boxes are coming. And I guess that's also where me and my brother just basically learned how to speak up and talk with people in that environment, as far as when it came to just the homies and the homegirls that worked there, but also with management as well. After being there for a year, basically we were just like, hey, it's cool right here, but there's no hours, and we should just go to the other warehouse I have, because they were a company that had multiple warehouses in the area right there in LA, in East LA. So we asked for a transfer, and they accommodated us with it, and we ended up moving, where the real work was at. And what I mean by that, to be honest, just in the seasonal warehouses, there was a lot of work during the seasons, but other than that, it was a lot of cleaning bullshit. It was a lot of just fucking backhaul, separating pallets, all that shit. So at the time, I'd rather just stay picky, just keep my time moving, keep moving faster, So we ended up working in this warehouse. We got the transfer, and this was a warehouse that focused more on the general items, In the first zone, you had the sodas, a lot of liquid. Basically the Shasta sodas, Coca-Cola, Sprite, water, juices, all types of juices, and stuff like that. You go into the second aisle, basically the same thing. A lot of liquid items. You go a little bit more down, you're going to hit candy. You turn around, you turn into the next aisle, a lot more candy, a good amount of like rice cake items, stuff like that. Lighter boxed items. You go into the last aisle, and it was just picture yourself doing the snake. And what I mean by that, picture yourself going into one aisle. It's just like the grocery store. You go into the grocery store, you go down the one. Picture yourself taking a left, going into the next aisle, taking a right, going into the next aisle, up and down like a snake. That's how we were essentially picking in the warehouse. You go down into one aisle, you put your pallet jack into the aisle, You go into the next one. You go into the next one, just like a snake going up and down. And then that was zone one, just basically focusing on the heavy stuff. So you would start off by building the heavy stuff on the bottom. Then it would just be a lot of like decent sized stuff in the middle, which was the candy. So a lot of liquid stuff on the bottom first, then the candy in the middle, and then the chips, the light stuff on the top. Basic. Zone 2 started off with like motor oil, just liquid like household cleaning liquids would be the second aisle. It would go deep into the first aisle, then same thing, just a snake to the next aisle. It'd just be a lot of liquid. And then going into the middle aisles, it was just a lot of soap, a lot of like heavier items like that. So let's say that would be the first three. Just picture yourself a snake again, 3 or 4 aisles, and then in the middle it would be a lot more like makeup, like small boxes with more like cosmetic things, little like shampoos, stuff like that. And then it would round out to inner case aisles. Basically, they were cases inside of cases, so a box inside a box that you would open up the box to pick a box from there, not just from the whole bulk location itself. So you would get there and it would tell you pick one IC, and then IC meant inner case, because in regular we just say like pick one case. So you just pick one box, but it says pick one IC or one inner case. It's just a different system, say it a different way. That's also what I'm trying to say as well, or what I should be saying. But so it worked the same thing, very simple the way it was set up. In the bottom, the heavy liquid motor oil stuff going into like the heavy liquid household cleaning stuff going into the shampoo in the top, and then cosmetics on all the way in the top that weren't that heavy. That was zone 2. Zone 3 was you'd start off in the bleach with all the bleach, the heavy liquid. Then you'd keep going straight. Then you turn into the canned food items. Just anything you could think in canned foods, to be honest. You turn into the snake, it's all canned foods. Into the next aisle, you keep going down, it's just chips and cookies. Then you get into the rice, a little bit more, again, back into like the general food items that maybe weren't as much, and more candy as well. And the last aisle was just a bunch of candy, light stuff. Very decently set up in the warehouse. Like I said, everything was kind of set up in its own way. But now that I really do think about it, I do think a setup really does, for me, being able, I guess, to really remember just kind of goes to show, because there's a lot of other fucking warehouses that do a shitty ass job of just really setting up their warehouse. But I mean, I'm no expert. I'm just, like, I don't know. I would like to keep learning on how to set shit up like that. That would be pretty dope. But and sometimes there has been warehouses like, what are you doing? Like, how is this here? Like, honestly, this should be in the beginning, or there has to be a way to set this up so you could come pick this in the beginning of the order. That way it's just not all the heavy boxes on top. Like, no. Somebody has to check this shit. But in the other warehouse, in the first warehouse that I was talking, I forgot about the bulk items, the bulk area. So it did have the rack and it had the bulk, and that's a big difference, because it's cool picking in the bulk areas, like in the areas that are on the floor, because sometimes those are the more heavy, fast-paced moving items, because they're just gonna come and put a whole pallet, pallets, not pallet. I'm tripping. They're gonna come and put a bunch of fucking pallets. Maybe 5 or 6 at one time. In the rack, they're just gonna have one location of it, depending if it's a double rack or a single rack, or sometimes there's two pallets that have a rolling rack that you bring down, or that they have a double bale. But if there's an item that is very moved a lot, like let's say some ribs, or let's say some type of something that's in special in a grocery store, anything like that, some type of ice cream, some type of like I said, ribs, like if you're working in the freezer, um, anything, water, those are heavy items that move out fast. So you just have a bulk area for it, or a bulk location. But that was also something cool to point out. So we were there working at that warehouse for a cool minute, and then they ended up asking us if we can go help out the seasonal warehouse that we were previously working at. And we said yes, since they helped us out when we needed it. We did the same thing, but the only thing was that now they were operating from a new warehouse. So they had closed down the old warehouse where we started and moved everything into a new one. So it wasn't, that wasn't an issue. We ended up going. And then, what do you call it? And we started working there. And, we're working our ass off. Same shit. I'm not gonna lie. I ended up getting pretty good at picking, and my brother was already pretty good, but I ended up getting pretty good as well, and we were doing our thing out there, and with time, it was like, well, can you guys go another week? And we were like, well, yeah. Then like, well, can you guys go another week? Like, yeah, I guess. Like, that's cool. And I'm sure you're seeing the point from here. Basically, we ended up just staying there, but it was really due also to good timing. At the time, me and my brother, we were playing music, and we were gigging Saturdays, so the schedule right there was Sunday through Friday, Saturdays off, and then Sunday back to work. So essentially we were working Sunday through Friday at the warehouse, and then on Saturday we would go out and gig. So we're working 7 days a week. Basically, me and my little brother knew that being in that department, look, order selecting in that warehouse, we were never gonna have the weekends off. It is what it is. And I think the one time that they were like trying to do it, or they were trying to assign people days off and this and that, like, it just turned into a fucking mess. And at that point, me and my brother didn't give a fuck, because to be honest, we were already used to it. But it would have been nice, I'm not gonna lie. And it would have been a lot more like just comforting, Obviously, after a long night of gigging, you just don't want to just continue it by going and doing a 10-hour shift or an 8-hour shift of just picking. You'd rather obviously go home and rest or keep drinking. It's up to you. But at that time, it didn't really matter. Me and my brother, we were young, so we didn't give a fuck. Yeah, but I would have wanted to work at time. So, well, we were picking right there at the new warehouse. There was a supervisor that was right there. He was in charge of the receiving. And I remember, I would always see this fool just fucking directing the guys that were working on the dock, and he would always say what's up and whatever, and he was just like, hey, what's up, man? And I remember eventually one day, homeboy just comes up, and he's like, what's up, man? I'm like, what's good, bro? Chilling. And, we just basically start chomping it up, start talking, and He's just basically like, damn, so, like, you fools coming from this other warehouse, like, yeah, we came to help out, blah, blah, blah. And then, he's basically like, so are you guys going to end up staying here? That they're saying that they're going to end up moving everybody here. And I just told him, like, look, honestly, bro, like, I don't give a fuck. The only thing I'm really trying to do right now is figure out how we could get the weekends off. And like I said, I had just kind of threw it out there to him. And then he was basically like, the weekends off, like, what's up? And I was like, yeah, dog, like, me and my brother been gigging for a cool minute now. Because it had really been, damn, now that I think about it, it had been 2 years that we were doing that. So I'm like, look, dog. So yeah, I kind of did give a fuck at the end of the day, because after doing that shit for 2 years, because we did a year at each warehouse, and we were already gigging by the time we had already started at that first warehouse. So I was like, yeah, dog, like, we've been doing it for a cool minute now, and shit, the beer's starting to wind down. So he's just like, yeah, but I basically told him about me. I'm like, yeah, man, like, I need that day off, because I didn't bring up my brother yet. And then, but I'm like, it is what it is. And then he's just like, well, you ever thought of being a receiver? And I was just like, a receiver? Nah, nah, I haven't. And I didn't even ask what a receiver was. I was just basically like, nah. And he's like, well, you do know they get the weekends off. And I'm like, shit, I want to be a receiver then. And I'm like, and then he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, well, he just basically was like, well, there's a spot open. And I was just like, then that's when I started thinking. I was just like, fuck, well, I got my brother right here, like, in my head, And then he's basically like, we got a spot open right here, and the receiver gets the weekends off. Like, I got another receiver right here, and he has the weekends off right now at the moment. And then I was just basically thinking, like, damn, bro, like, I appreciate it, but you know what? Like, I'm gonna have to pass. Like, this kind of a 2-person deal. He's just like, what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was just like, look, to be honest, bro, it's me and my little brother. Like, we drive here together, and like I'm cool. Like, I'm not gonna say, like, I told him it's either both of us or nothing, but I basically did say, like, it's because I don't remember the exact wording, but I basically did tell him, like, you know what, I'm cool, bro, it's just me and my brother. And then he was just basically like, well, who's your brother? And I was like, lighter skinned dude, long hair, white tee, no sleeves, brown shorts. And then he's just like, that's your brother? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I got 2 positions open. And I was like, you fucking lying. Like, nah. He's just like, yeah. I was just like, for real? And you know what? That shit is fucking crazy, because that food did end up coming through. And, being able to say it, like, it's just fucking crazy, because like, damn, that food did come through on that shit. And that's what I mean by, like, it's all about timing, because I remember when I was working at that second warehouse, I was just like, chill out. Like, one of these fools is going to see the hard work you're doing, because I'm not going to tell you that I'm, like, the biggest hardworking guy ever, but it's hard to be looking dumb sometimes. And what I mean by that is just like, fuck, I'd rather just do the last fucking pallet if I really have to. Like, fuck, if we could just call this shit a day. Like, yeah, there has been times when I've gone to the bathroom for the last 5 minutes to not pick up the last fucking case or the last fucking order, but sometimes if you're doing a little too much, like, it's a little too much. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I said, you're gonna get to know me because I'll be getting a little bit off topic, but I mean, long story shorter, long story shorter, long story longer. Um, that food did end up fucking coming through. That was what's up. And so he basically told us we end up going to tell our supervisor, and I mean, shit, the old supervisor that was at the old warehouse, that was a new supervisor here, so we're gonna go tell the supervisor who we already had experience with, and we let him know, like, hey, this is why we want to be receivers. This is our recommendation. You know, the gentleman, he let us use his name, just basically like saying, like, yeah, let him know that I said, like, what's up, I would like for you guys to be here working with me. Like, I don't know, he saw that we were working good. Like, honestly, we were fucking working good. We were fucking picking shit, we were picking real good. So, you know I'm not gonna fucking be over here saying, like, oh, we caught a break, but all those fucking days that I was fucking working 7 days, gigging 7 days, going in on Sunday to work, not fucking calling off. Um, you know, that shit felt good, and I felt well deserved. You know, I will pat myself on the shoulder at least to say that, and say, you know what? I only called off once, and the one time that I called off, you could hear the fucking tuba in the background bumping. Shit. So, you know, I will give myself that, and my brother that. Never fucking missed like that. Maybe until the end, but that's another story for another time. But at that time, very well deserved. And you know what? They both ended up coming through, and that's where we both became receivers. Ended up getting Sunday and Monday off, and shit, that worked out even better because Saturdays were like really really slow days, with the least amount of work, and they were just basically coming in and receiving whatever the lumpers were or the offloaders were unloading. So very simple. In the beginning, like the first year, the first 2 years, like it would just basically be that. Then at the end, they would have some type of picking, but since I was a receiver, I didn't really deal with that. But that I'm saying that because now it was just more people in the warehouse. At one point, it would just be like just five of us: me, my brother, my supervisor, and two homeboys. One putting away and one doing something else, and then like two other lumpers, so like seven of us. It was dope, and just depended on the Saturdays though. Sometimes they would just have a lot of lumpers, or offloaders. So then once we became, once we became receivers, a couple of months into it, um, that supervisor or my supervisor, he ended up telling us, and he was straight up with us, and that's why I got a lot of respect for him to this day. He came up to us, and he's like, "Hey, I'm telling you fools this because I scouted you fools as pickers, as order selectors. You fools are really good order selectors, which is one of the reasons why I brought you guys over here. Um, but I want to let you guys know that in a couple of years, there's gonna be a warehouse. A warehouse. There's gonna be a company. There's gonna be a company that comes in, and they're gonna start paying their associates by the case." And like, that's not the first time I had heard that, because the lumping service company or the other company that was working there at the time, alongside us, as a receiver, that's how they were working. They were getting paid by the work that they were doing, basically by the container that they were unloading. You know, this container paid $250. This container paid 300, and if you did it with a partner, it was 150 each person. Shit like that, straight up. But now they were saying it more in the sense of case picking, of order selecting. So I remember me and my brother just looked at each other and we were just like, man, fuck that bullshit. And I mean, I still would have done that shit to this day. As far as the time for that, because we were gigging, we didn't, we were making extra money, you know, and we had just finished picking for 3 years, 2.5, I guess you could say. We did 1 year in the first warehouse, another year in the other warehouse, and that was around, I would say maybe 3 to 6 months that we finally became receivers doing into that third warehouse. But we basically did go around the third seasonal time. Yeah, the third seasonal time. What do you call it? Because when we were over there in the second year in the general warehouse, we were still getting sent to the old warehouse during seasonal times. So yeah, we were in our third seasonal year, and yeah, so that's basically how the timeline we were in. So we were basically like, nah, we're good. We're like, well, thank you for the heads up. And sure enough, what that fool ended up saying, it all came true. They did it around maybe the first year. The lumping service that was unloading containers was the test dummy and all of that. They brought in another group of people from that company, started paying them by the case. So, that's fucking awesome now that I think about it. There's guinea pigs and test shit to when it comes to all this. You know what I mean? The company that I was working for had already tried it, now that I think about it. They would get some of the unloaders that were getting paid, because this is the way it was working. They had another company that was in there that had a group of people unloading containers. And they were paying them at their own rate, apart from my company. And getting to know the lumpers, they were basically like, yeah, man, like, look, if I unload this container by myself, they're going to give me $250. Simple. So, I'm going to put EMCU 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to say that my name so-and-so went ahead and that ZzReports went ahead and unloaded it, and they're going to go and get it ahead and give me $250 for my services. That was the way they said, that was the way they explained to me, and it was that simple. Now what they were doing was they brought in more people from that company, apart from the people that were unloading, a whole set of new people, and they started paying them by the case. So let's say you went and picked a box from one location, and they were paying you 9 cents to pick that box onto the pallet. You did that 100 more times, they pay you at that for every case you picked at 9 cents. That was my understanding. And I was just like, that's fucking crazy. So, they did end up doing that, and it didn't work. I remember the first time around, it just didn't work with that first company. But now give it another, I would say, damn, I wish I would have wrote all that shit down. Give it another year maybe. That's when they brought in the company I'm currently working for. And in the beginning, they started off with reach truck drivers. They were paying them at a flat rate. And I remember it was crazy. Because basically what had started happening was they were paying my new companies, because I had ended up switching from my company to the new company, to the new 3PL, to my company that I'm working with now. I know it's confusing. I'm sorry. Fuck. I'm over here tripping, but basically they had started paying the reach truck drivers from the new company more than the actual company that was working there. Once the company workers got a hold of that information, they found out there was just mayhem. And I'm not gonna lie, the company that I was working for before that, meaning the main company, it was just a fucking. It just became a hassle. You know what? I'm just gonna leave that subject alone for now because I don't want to confuse anybody. But basically, they were paying the new company employees more than the employees that had been working there already 10, 15 years. So they became a whole ordeal. Um, but then when they got into the order selecting process, they started paying them by the case. And, you know, they were basically making good money. Like, I remember some folks were basically like, yeah, like, these checks are coming out clean. Like, I was just like, damn, that's fucking sick. Like, it is working. So now I guess like I said, the company that I'm currently working for was a lot more professional than the other company, but that is essentially how I got into where I'm at now. And that is what brings me to here. I'm in a hotel in Pennsylvania, recording this just out of my phone. And this is what basically it has brought me to. All my experience with this company, and I really enjoy it. I've been doing it for 6 years now, and I did 5 for the first company I was working with. So what I mean by that is the first company I was working for, I was working there for 5 years. That's when my current company that I'm working for now came into that warehouse, and I ended up jumping ship. I ended up leaving the company and just, but I did it in good terms. I went up to my main boss, the one that hired us. No, he didn't hire us. The other warehouse had hired us. The seasonal warehouse, but the manager that also gave us the opportunity to go into his warehouse and be part of their team. I went up to him and I let him know, hey, I'm trying to do a change in my life, and I feel like right now the best decision for me would be to move over to the company, to our partner. Because at the end of the day, that's where we were. The companies are partners. And he went ahead and gave me the opportunity to do it, and that was pretty cool. And so I went there. I kept working in that warehouse for a while, and that's when I got the opportunity to come on the road. And I've been on the road now for 6 years. 5, about to be 6, I guess you could say, but it was May of 2020. So I would say it's almost going to be 5 years, so almost 6 years. And that's where I'm at now. I'm in a hotel in Pennsylvania. As you can hear in the background, it's just the freeway. It's not even a freeway. This one's a street, but I got a lot of audios, on the side that I've recorded for the other channel that are just next to a freeway and just different stuff, man. But now I feel like it's time to start getting all this out there. It's been good just being able to travel, being able to see how different people work, seeing how different warehouses work, seeing their processes, seeing their culture, seeing their environment, seeing, because all that shit, believe it or not, does come into play, man. Like, that shit, I do see it now, like, every warehouse, like, and that's what I'm, like, I feel, I guess, so blessed about. I got to live it all firsthand. I've probably been to so many warehouses. Like, I got a list of them, but like I said, I'm just trying to think all of this off the top of my head. You know, I got no notes in front of me. I got nothing in front of me. You know, it's just me talking into my phone, and that's it. And you know, being in different states like Illinois and Indiana, Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, Oregon, um, Tennessee, you know, it's dope. And being at different warehouses in those states is just a different experience. So you know what? I got to live it firsthand, and I'm getting a chance to live it firsthand. You know, and that's what this is about: being able to see all those different, all those different. I don't even know how to say it. Like just all those different experiences. You know, I most of the time, I guess you can say I went out as a lead, so I've gotten the chance to, you know, talk to a lot of managers and directors and vice presidents and this and that. And I'm not gonna say that's why I'm just so comfortable around them, but at the same time, it's like, man, they're just people like me and you. They just want the fucking answers, and that's it. Your group isn't hitting 100%. Why? Because they fucking suck. We need better pickers. It's that fucking simple. As long as you fucking keep it honest with them, they should be good. Like, you know what, man? Like, what do you... You know, we just got here a week ago. And what I say that is because I work for a traveling 3PL. You know, a lot of the times when I get sent somewhere, it's with people that I don't know or people that I'm meeting for the first time. Being at a warehouse that we just both got introduced to, all 6 of us, and now I have to take 6 people, including me, learn the whole new layout, learn the whole new process. But you know what? Like, I've never fucking, at the end of the day, like, oh, I can't handle this, or oh, I can't do this. Nah. I mean, a lot of these people do come with experience as you know, in some degree, you know. So for the most part, it's just like, as they say, you can plug and play. Just, hey, man, you know, it's basically this. This is the dock. This is the system. Yeah, these guys know how to do it. Cool. You know, I'm not gonna say that it's always people that don't know. You find people that know what the fuck they're doing with common sense. So, you know. But basically, like, that's kind of the more experiences that I've been, you know, dealt. When I first decided to get on the road, that was my first time picking in the freezer. My whole experience before that, the 5 years experience I had at that first company that I was working for, was all dry. I have never even heard of a freezer warehouse at that point, or a perishable warehouse. I mean, yes, I have heard of them, but I had never even thought of going to one. Now 5 years later, here I am. You know, I'm from LA, and now I'm in Melrose Parks, Illinois, picking in a fucking freezer. You know, picking ice cream, picking fucking frozen sugar cookies, picking fucking frozen cupcakes, and all that shit. You know, now instead of a regular pallet jack, I'm driving a center rider. You know, different machinery on my first day. Like, you gotta get used to that shit fucking quick. You know. So, you know, you go in. That was my first experience, and that's when they asked. In my first experience, that's when they asked for volunteers to go to a warehouse in Ohio. So I was just basically like, damn, like, you know, I did come for shit like this, like, to experience what it is like traveling on the road, and experiences to, like, you know, like, I'll volunteer. Basically is what I told myself in my fucking head. Like, what's up? You're looking for people? You're in Ohio? Cool, I'll go. And yeah, they ended up sending us. We drove from Melrose Parks all the way to Great Lakes, Ohio. Basically over there by, like, Cleveland. I would say like 30 to 45 minutes out of Cleveland, but you know, I took a drive with 3 other fools, and that was like a 4 to 5 hour drive, and I was doing it, man. traveling on the road. That one, they didn't send us on a plane. They thought it'd be cheaper to go ahead and send us in the van that the homeboy was already driving. So shit, packed up our shit, loaded up the van, let's go. 4 of us, 4 to 5 hour drive. Got to Cleveland, Ohio. That same day went to the warehouse. And went to go get introduced. I think we picked for like 4 hours, then we left. Went to go get some rest. Then went back the next day. I had gone back to LA after that, after being a cool minute there. And then went as a lead. I went to go get some lead experience because one of the supervisors that I was working under ended up becoming a manager. And he ended up hitting me up and just telling me like, hey, what's up? Like, I just got a new warehouse. I'm looking for a lead. I like the way you work. Because I was a trainer, so I will give you that. Once I jumped ship from my first company over to the company I'm with right now, they basically saw the experience I had and they did move me up as a trainer right away. Maybe like a month into it, or like 2 to 3 months. I think it was like a month or two. Maybe even, I think like a month. But I had to have been the 3rd month because I remember they moved me up to a receiver. So I did like 2 months, 1 week of picking. Then the company asked for me to be a receiver. So then I went to be a receiver, got the weekends off, and then they asked me to be a trainer. So then he had hit me up and he's like, hey man, you did a really good job as a trainer. Are you interested in coming down to be a lead? He said he was going to be paying me 17? I forgot. I think he said 17. And I was like, can you push it up to 18, man? And then he was just like, I can't. So in the beginning, I told him no. And I still thought that was kind of low. And then one of my homies was just basically like, bro, you should go, like, just to get some experience, this and that. And I was just like, fuck, like, should I go get that experience? And I was like, yeah, because at that point I had already been on the road. I had kind of seen what it was like, going out and being under a team. And I kind of figured, like, I want to be a lead on the road, like a supervisor on the road, like taking care of people. Like, not taking care of people, but like managing people. You know what I mean? Directing people, leading people. And yeah, sure enough, that's what I did. I went back as a lead. And what do you call it? I went there maybe like 6 months. I would say like 6 months until I got an opportunity to go back on the road. And I ended up in Ohio. And just that's where everything just kind of started moving slower. And what I mean by that, like, in the beginning, I had got the opportunity to go out there as a lead. But when I got there, the lead that was there was basically like, hey, dog, I know they sent you out here as a lead, but my cousin's going to come out here. And, like, I told him he could be the lead. I was like, cool. Like, I ain't tripping. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm here to work on the road, bro. Like, I'm just here to make money. That's literally all I'm here for. I'm just here to work. And then, what do you call it? I was basically like, look, I'm just here to work, bro. I really don't give a fuck. Like, And then, cool. So, see, that's why sometimes it's cool to, like, some people are going to take it bad, but I honestly didn't care. Like, even though they had told me I was going to go as a lead, like, I don't really expect always shit to go as is, man. And basically I was like, hey, man, that's cool. Like, you're not going to, you don't want me to be a lead here? Cool. And then what ended up happening, though, that same lead ended up becoming a project manager. So then he literally called me to his room one day and he was just like, come to my room. He threw me a black vest and he's like, here, you're the lead now. I was just like, damn. He's like, yeah, you put up with my shit. You were cool when my cousin came through. You've been mad fucking cool lately. You're the lead now. You're gonna be the main lead. I was like, fuck. And basically because of that move, it's just I learned everything. Everything. Booking flights, bringing people, managing hotels. What I mean by that, checking people into their hotels, making sure the billing is sent to the company, making sure that everybody's room is okay, booking their flights, doing payroll, doing safety observations, doing like weekly safety meetings, just a bunch of different shit, like, and that's all good experience, like having APR meetings with managers and general managers of warehouses. Like, come on, man, like that shit's all good fucking experience. So that's what I was doing. And I would say my favorite moment was after being there in that actual project where that where that lead and that he ended up becoming a manager, and he put me there. We ended up changing that site from flat rate base pay to performance pay. So the story behind that is we had a group of around 30 to 35 people, and the work was coming in good, and the work was coming in heavy. The only thing that the company was wanting from our people was 100%. I had already got every single person in that team over 100%. And I'm proud of that. After that, the work started picking up so much, even though everybody was working good, that they wanted to make it an even 60. Me and my boss, we basically started, bringing out ideas, and we came to the conclusion that we should tell them to put it by performance pay. So then I just, one day we were talking and they were like, look, we want to make it an even 60, blah, 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 this and that, like, start bringing them out here. And I was like, look, instead of bringing 25 more people, why don't we just pay these people more? And then he's just like, what? I was like, look, we can come to an understanding where you can boost up the performance, and then these people are going to get paid more without having to bring more people in, having to pay for more rentals, having to pay for more hotel rooms. Because everybody had single hotel rooms. So that's 35 rooms that were already being paid for. On top of that, that would be another 25. So for us, at least for me, I always thought it'd be better to, all these people that I had here were working so good. And they were easily always hitting over 100%. Even if they were hitting at 110, that 110 can boost their pay from a regular 19 up to a 25. Let's say it's a 25. That's $6 that anybody would enjoy. So I remember the top pay was, I think it was 117% for 25. So I think 110 probably would have been around 23. That's a $4 difference. Like, it's something, fuck, right? For working at the same fucking pace that you were working at before. What if somebody just told you out of the blue, hey, if you just keep doing what you're doing, we're going to pay you $4 more. And hey, if you just happen to hit another 7%, you're going to get another $2 more. Wait, you're going to be like, wait, what? Fuck yeah. So see, that's what I'm kind of trying to get to. A lot of people may look at it a lot of different ways. You might think, oh, wow, What about the company? You should have thought about the company. They can make more money. Yeah, but even how you got more liability with more people coming out. What if these next 25 people, that's, let's say 6 people to each rental, 6, 12, 18, 24. That's 4 rentals. What if, we're not trying to judge, but now what if 2 of those people that like to work, that are driving rentals, like to go out and party all the time? Because I had that shit with the homies all the time right there. They were driving rentals, going out, having a good fucking time. Yeah, you could say it was my job as a lead to not let them go out like that, but I can't be on top of everybody every day when we're working 6, 7 days a week. You know? It just is what it is. The company I work for has had so many fucking rentals dug into a fucking ditch maybe that I can fucking not even count on my fingers. You know? Shit happens. So that's what I mean. I'd rather pay the people that I'm already here. They're doing a good fucking job. They're doing a great fucking job coming to work every day. I'd rather reward them. And that's what we did. And, you know, up to this point, I can say that we've been, you know, I've been working good. Every warehouse that I've gone to, thankfully, has been great as far as my experience. I go and just learn different systems in different places. You know, I've gotten the chance to work everything from helping the yard go, trying to move trailers around and making sure that things don't get, empty trailers aren't congested all the way in the back in front of full trailers and just getting lost in there, and you know, stuff like that. And unloading, making sure that I'm unloading the correct boxes and the correct pallets with the correct tie high, with the correct, you know, item numbers. The receiving process, making sure I'm receiving everything correctly, which is my favorite department for sure. You know, like if you're a receiver, like I looked at my brother one day and I remember when that new warehouse was coming in and they had just put up the racks, because when we had just transferred to that third warehouse, the last warehouse of the 3, there was no racks in that bitch. So it was just a big ass fucking warehouse with no racks. Within the year, they started building up the racks. That shit was fucking crazy. So me, my brother, and the 2 other receivers were the ones receiving all that merchandise. To me, that shit was dope. You know, all that shit that was up there was received correctly. No fucking errors. Most of it by me, most of it by my brother and the other 2 receivers. I would, you know, that's dope. It's cool. That shit was a shitload of fucking items. Shitload of fucking pallets. You know, so it's dope. Then hauling the merchandise that the lumpers are unloading. You know, going and taking it to an aisle or taking it somewhere where the reach truck driver can put it away. Then doing put away. You know, being on a reach truck or dock stocker, putting away the merchandise. Being on a reach truck or dock stocker and replenishing merchandise into the pick slot locations. Being an order selector, a picker, just picking fucking boxes all day. The heart of the fucking warehouse. You know? What else? Being able to stage the pallets, loading them up into the dock, shipping them out, inventory control, auditing, you know, all that, all those departments. I've gotten the opportunity to work in all of them. And you know what? It's cool. Like, you know, that's what this is about. It's just seeing and taking a deep dive into all of those departments and kind of getting my experience out of them. But more than anything, like before I do all that, it's just the bigger picture of what all of this has led up to and what I'm doing right now with warehousing and logistics. You know, this is what warehousing and logistics is to me. You know, I respect it because of everything it's brought me. Like, you know, right now, look, I have the opportunity to be in my own hotel. Someone's driving me to work. They drive me to Walmart. It's like if I have a fucking driver, you know? if, dude is mad fucking cool. Hey, you need to go anywhere? Nah, I'm cool, man. Just as long as I could go to Walmart maybe one time a week, man, that's straight. But I can relax. The fucking warehouse that I'm at right now is mad fucking chill. Monday through Friday, being able to record these audios and tell you what I'm going through in case anybody wants to know or interested or just kind of wants to know how this lifestyle works, you know? Because I would love to hear how different people are working. But this is just kind of the first hand with logistics and with supply chain management and what all this is to me, you know? And being able to travel just from place to place and learning different systems, being able to work in AWGs in Mississippi. I've been to the one, you know, in Hernando with the automated systems. Beautiful fucking warehouses, you know. And the reason I bring up like those is because it's just like I've worked with systems that are, Wheatron's in there. They have their own systems. I've worked with the Manhattan systems. I've worked with just different systems with the tiny computer systems. The gladiators, the ones that you've got to print out labels. The RF scanners, all of that shit. The Vocalets, everything. The pick to light, where you're literally picking to a light. The light tells you where to pick from. All of that shit, man. So that's what this is all about. That's what ZzReports is. And once again, everything is just going to be broken up into topic. Everything is just going to be broken up into, I would just say different topics. And you know what? Like I said, this is what warehousing has brought me to at the moment, and what I'm really enjoying to talk about. I want to see I want to show everybody then the backgrounds of this, how I got, to talk to people. And what I mean by that is because there's a lot of warehouses that have asked for me back and been like, hey, how's this dude doing? Like, is he available? Can he come back over here to work with us? And it's just like, that's cool to me, man. That means that I did a good job. And I'm proud of that. And I got so much experience because at the end of the day, like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to be so far-fetched with the way I'm going to do my company. It's not even funny. It's going to have a big old app with being able to have companies and regular people like me and you just go in there and start working at different places like this. That's what working for something like this has inspired me to do. Start up my own system, because that's another big thing. Maybe even it's just gonna be a big old empire, and I know it sounds far-fetched, but at the same time it's just doing everything correctly. And it's a lot to like pretty much put on my plate, but at the end of the day, like, I gotta start off small. But I've already thought, like, essentially how my book is gonna go as well, like how I would do it. Like, I would just start out by starting to collect data, building up a pay scale, starting up with a group of 5 people with a small warehouse that needs unloaded containers. That's it. All you need is one contract. After that, just go ahead and start building up your network, start hiring more people, But for the most part, that's what warehousing logistics is to me right now. Just, it's giving me the opportunity, like I said, to have this time, have this experience, like doing this for 5-6 years already. And in total of 10 years, I've seen so much, been through so much when it comes to just how can I say it? The type of problems you're going to get into a warehouse systematically, physically, not like fighting, but I'm saying like having to go through the whole training in every department. Like, I've been through all that, and I want to show everybody what it's like. You know what I mean? Seeing everything. If you just want to work at a regular warehouse, you don't have to do it like I'm doing it and out here traveling to different warehouses, getting all this experience in different types of situations. Like I said, it's been cool because I've been to different places where from one day to the next, one day I'm in fucking Toledo, Ohio. The next day I'm back in Chicago, Illinois. I'll put it to you like that. They call me one day at 10 in the fucking morning. Can you please help us in Chicago, Illinois? We're sending out 5 people that only speak Spanish, and we don't have anybody else that speaks Spanish. You speak Spanish. We need you. Like, oh man, I don't know, this and that. It's like, please, like, fuck it. I'm a team player. Let's go. That's my experience. That's what I'm used to. That's what I've done before. On the quick, just, hey, we need you here. I get there, hey, what's up? I need everybody's phone number. Send me everybody's phone number. I'm gonna get in contact with them. I'm gonna have a meeting with them. Everything. I'm not gonna half-ass this bullshit. We get to the warehouse. I got my rental. I got everybody in the van. Let's go. Vámonos. We're gonna be here at this time. If the shift starts at 3 o'clock, all right. For the first day, everybody, we're gonna leave an hour and a half early to make sure we go to the gas station. Everybody has food. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's doing that. We know how to take a route. We know how to get there on time. Then the following day, we'll figure out what time we're going to leave. But we're going to make a good first impression on the first day. That's what I want to show with this. How to build it. No bullshit. No this. No that. We'll get into all the fun stuff later. But I also want to show how to build. How to just start up nothing from fucking unloading backhaul in your first warehouse, the fucking rotten watermelons, unloading that bullshit, to being able to change a fucking site from base pay performance, flat rate performance to a base pay, and having everybody making $25 on walking. Because I already had everybody so well trained. And everybody was, they did their part too. I didn't train them all, but, I showed them and I told them how easy it was just to come in and do the job correctly. And basically chose who would train who, as far as like, look, explain to him this or explain to her that. That way they understand how it's easy to, be able to hit this performance without having to rush everything. It's all about pace. Doing your orders on time, doing everything on time. So, that's what I want to show. How to start off fucking unloading backhaul to making fucking plans like that and being able to, have your team make as much money as possible. That's what this is about. Not just coming in and, I was picking up bags here. Nah, fuck that. We're going to deep dive into every little single thing to make everything better. That's what this warehouse topics are about. I've ran groups of 200 people, making sure that everybody's to work. I've ran groups of over 200 people. Small groups that have lasted long because we were there. As far as the timing, how are you, having 2 or 3 people in one site still being able to make money for that site in different ways? Any little thing, convincing people to share rooms, going and finding flatter rates at a different hotel, switching from a van to a small rental, anything to save money for the company or for yourself, because you know what, at the end of the day, I'm going to end up doing it by myself. So that's why I want to learn right now with another company's time and money. I'm saving them time and money, so eventually I can save myself time and money. That's what all of this is going to be about. I hope everybody sticks around and enjoys all this, because I'm going to be telling everybody exactly how I was doing it and how I am doing it right now. But like I said, right now, honestly, I've been working fucking 5 to 6 years, working fucking 60 to 70 hour days, 6 days, sometimes even 7 days a week. You don't believe me? Fuck it. I don't give a fuck. It's the truth, though. Now, I got the opportunity since January 13th of this year. I landed into a good company that I was in the network for them for the last 2 years, because I was working with them 2 years ago. I ended up coming back to them because I knew they had the weekends off. And I wanted to do something with my time. And it's about time that I start doing something with my time. And this is the perfect opportunity. You know, basically coming in, running up as much game as I can, and trying to say my experiences in this. And trying to give as much knowledge as I can. Even if it's good, because I'm not trying to give out bad knowledge, but at the same time, this is the way that it worked for me, you know. So I'm trying to just show everybody the way it works for me. But I hope everybody just sticks around and just come in and enjoy. Like I said, this is what this is gonna be about. The small details, and I'm just kind of pumped now. Can't wait to make the next video. Like I said, the next video will probably be on a different topic, but this is what this is all going to be about. We're going to talk about warehousing, logistics, and supply chain management in just ways you've never even thought of, to be honest. So, like I said, everybody just stick around. Hope to see everybody in the next one. Y'all be safe.